was a moment, Kevin, in this last game where I really did think Sam Williams was going to get one of those dumb penalties. He was walking next to somebody, and all I could see was him just leaning his head and headbutting. Like, that's what I was like, oh, please don't do this. Please. And then he didn't. And I was like, whoa, nice, because he learned from the preseason, right? Like they've been, be physical. Be that guy on the field. Whenever the whistle stops, though, don't be that guy anymore. You gotta think about the team.
It's really.
I might be way off here, but I'm feeling like it's a cleaner team right now.
Okay, all right. I'll get to the numbers in just 1 second. I'm surprised people have assigned specific blame to the penalties. I thought people would just be like, yes, there are less penalties. However, from the 2-1-4, they went away with Dak. From the 4-6-9, they went to Denver with Randy Gregory. From the 9-0-3, Connor Williams left. So people have specific player.
Kind of true.
Okay, so I apologize.
They don't have a defensive end playing Can I Ride You?
Yes,
what?
that I mean, you saw
What is
that
it called?
playoff game.
Piggyback Ride. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Not Can I Ride You? Different game.
I mean,
all right, 8.7's looking good, Joey. I'm feeling good about this show. All right, so what we've started to do is ask our producers before the show starts, give us a predictive score for the show. All right, so I apologize. There is going to be math involved in this, or a lot of numbers.
Do I need to write numbers down, or can you deliver it to me?
You might. I'll try to deliver it in a simplistic form.
Can you be the lettuce to my ranch and just deliver the ranch to me? Like, that's all lettuce is a vessel for ranch.
No,
anyway.
because unlike lettuce, I'm not going to be useless. All right, so in 2020, the Cowboys had the 8th most penalties in the league. Last year, they had the most penalties in the league. This year, they have the 12th most penalties in the league.
That's good. That's positive.
That is good. I'll give you even more information about that in just 1 second. All right, what about penalty yardage? In 2020, so I picked 2020 just because that's when McCarthy got here, and that seemed like a logical spot. They had the 11th most penalty yardage per game. Last year, they had the most penalty yardage per game. This year, 19th most penalty yardage per game.
That's awesome.
So again,
so we're not multiplying 19 by the penalty yards. We're saying that's where number they rank.
And so that's
low.
Yeah, it is low. So you're better than league average. But Mike, you brought up something that was really spot on. Game 1, it was problematic. You had 10 penalties for 73 yards. Now let's just for a second take out game 1. I know that's not how stats usually work, but bear with me for 1 second. If you take out game 1, remember I told you last year, most penalties in the league. This year, they would have the 22nd most penalties in the league. Now you're about to crack the top 10 of least penalized teams. And it's the same thing on the yardage. They're 20th in penalty yards given up. So think about it. You've gone from last year where you had the most penalties in the league and the most penalty yardage in the league to after week 1, you are on the brink of breaking into the top 10 of least penalized teams. And one of the reasons that's such a huge deal. Now, you could argue that, like, of course, less penalties is always going to be good. And I would certainly concede that. But don't you think that's been especially important because what's happened after game 1? That's been the Cooper Rush run. And we would all agree, regardless of what you think about Dak and Cooper Rush and all that nonsense, is you have a smaller margin for error with Rush than you do with Dak. Fair?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So guess what?
So don't commit stupid penalties.
Exactly.
Don't turn the ball over.
Exactly. And what's been happening in those 4 games? Like, I want to... Cooper Rush has been part of saving this season. Make no mistake about that. But...
because he's not great.
He's not great.
And I'm being serious about that statement. Or he's not Dak. Let's just say he's not Dak, and people can argue about that part all they want. Everybody on the team, I think, woke up after game 1. They were like, this season can go really, really poorly. Do I really want 16 more games of losing and being garbage? Or do we need to step up? DeMarcus Lawrence, given the sermon on the sideline, as Christy Scales said, is you guys are better than this. We can hold them to 0 for the rest of the game. We should be able to do that. We should do it right now.
Yeah.
Well, guys, after quarterback gets hurt, guys, we should be better than this. We should be better than what we saw. We have a lot of things we have to be better at, though. And I think everybody's taken I don't know. They just, maybe the focus is just a little higher. Whatever it is, it's just a little more of we can do these things and we have to do these things. Otherwise, it's going to be a bad season.
I saw somebody say it's just across the league. The NFL is really lenient with penalties this year, letting guys get away with a lot. But that wouldn't impact where you slide in the rankings, right? If all teams were being more lenient, or if all officials were being more lenient, wouldn't you stay the same in the rankings with just less penalties?
Yeah.
But that's not what's happened, is you've gone from the most to the 12th most. And if you take out game 1, the 22nd most. So you're moving in the right direction.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
And I know you're probably not going to have this answer.
I will see what I can do.
I wonder what the Cowboys' penalty situation was through about 7 or 8 games last year, just because they had such a great record to start the year. And as the season progressed, obviously the Denver game was kind of the game that switched everything.
Yeah.
And the Cowboys just being
How many
an
games?
average team. Like about 6 or 7 games, because I'm assuming last year the Cowboys were 6-1 through like 7 games, because I remember going, holy cow, this team might win 13 or more games, and my bet's going to be really bad with the 11.5 over under or whatever it was. I think it was 11.5. And so I would just say, like, through about 6 or 7 games, the Cowboys had a great record. I'm wondering if they were still getting penalized a lot and winning, or as it changed into a 500 team, that's when the penalties really started racking up. I don't know.
And just as a quick aside, it was 6-1. You were right going into that Denver game where it all went to crap.
Kevin, do you want count on that? The amount of penalties? Would that be helpful for you?
Sure.
All right,
I
so
can figure that
how
out.
many games? You said 6?
Well, I guess 7 because they were 6-1.
8, 8, 4, 7, 8, 12, 11.
Okay.
8, 8, 4, 7, 8, 12, 11.
Okay. Got it. So that is 58?
Yeah, so they were 14 more penalties against than they are at this point.
And think about this. And he said, okay,
or about 7 games in.
So that's still about 8.3. Their total for the season was 7.8. So
It actually got worse. I mean, better. Like, I guess you could say
shockingly enough,
but
they somehow
they got worse as a team.
So it's way better to start this season. And again, you're going to need, my question to follow all of that up is, do you believe they can keep up even a medium pace? I'm not saying they got to be best 10 in the league, but even a medium pace.
I do, and I don't know this. Obviously, we're not part of the Dallas Cowboys. I assume that it has been talked about in the offseason, in the walkthrough practices, and in training camp. I'm sure that there's been discussions on, guys, we have to be better than this. Sometimes it'll happen. Sometimes you do hold. Sometimes you do pass interfere. Sometimes the ref calls a bad call on you. I think Fowler, I can't believe he got roughing the passer on Matthew Stafford. Like, that's a joke. But we're seeing that around the NFL. But, hey, jumping off sides. Come on, guys. You're watching the ball, right? Like, what are we doing here? And I get it. There's hard counts. It'll happen every once in a while, but it's happening too much. Let Me Ride That Pony by Randy Gregory in the playoffs. That was a bad decision. Like, that's stupid. Like, we're not helping our team at all in those. And then false starts on your offensive line. I get every once in a while you get a little bit jumpy because it looks like a guy's...
But never the center. I just want to say this. I will never forgive a false start on the center. I'm like, you have the ball. Did you snap the ball? Then don't move.
But if you clean up the false starts, the offsides, which to me are very easy to clean up, then that takes your penalties down quite a bit from what we've seen.